So we completed so far iteration 3 and iteration 4, and that completes, as I mentioned, the required part. So this video and the next video covers iteration 5 and 6. Both are extra credit. The first one, we're going to try to see how we can delete a contact and reorder the list of contacts, and then the other item is to save to a file. So to delete a contact and to reorder contacts, we'll start from the data source. And so if we go back to the data source is where we manage everything related to the list. So this is where we can get the count of the list, contacted index, and add contact. So any object like the AddressBookTableViewController or any of the others who want to access the list, they come through the door of the data source. So if we want to delete a contact, then we need to we will delete it from the view, but also delete it from the list or from the data source. So we can first we'll need to add the functions to do that. We need to add a function to delete a new contact, a contact. So we have to receive the index that we need to delete. So we'll say function delete contact, and this function need to receive an index. So we'll say that index and need to be integer. And to delete the contact, we go back to our array list and see if there is a remove or delete contact. So actually there is a remove function, and says it removes an object if it has that object, or remove object at index if you know the index of that object. So we'll use remove object at index and provide the index. So there is now a responsibility on whoever will be calling that function. It needs to provide the index that needs to be removed, and that function will remove the item. Another function we want to add is a function that replaces or moves an item, meaning that you want to move an item from an index to another one, or replace the index. So if you move from 4 to 2, then 2 comes back to 4, or something like that. Let's test the delete first before we go to the move. I'm thinking a lot in my mind. You notice this time I did not write down, so I'm thinking in my mind. So this is why I had that thought for a moment. So we go to the address book. To do the delete, the template helps us a lot. The template for the address book for the table view controller. One of the commented function is the commit editing style, and the commit editing style has the option if the style was delete. And there's another function can edit row, and if you want the row to be edited, then you need to return true. So we want to uncomment that function can edit row. So now it returns true, so we can edit this row. And the other function commit editing style, and that function, if the editing style is already written for you, but before we let the view deletes, the table view deletes the row, we need to delete the row from the data source. So before here we go to the data source and say delete contact, and it needs an index, and we have an index path, so we'll use the index path and use the row to pass on the row that need to be deleted. So let's see how this works. Let's add an item, a contact, and to delete you just swipe to the right, and that activates the editing style, and click delete, and it is removed. It is removed from the data source, and it is removed from the row with the row animation. Another way to bring in the editing is to add an edit button here, and the view.load has a comment instruction to add a navigation item with the built-in edit button item. So there is a function that adds that button and adds the action connected with that button. This instruction adds the navigation item to the right, but I already have the add in the right, so I want to change it from right to left. And there is a left bar button item, so I'll just add that there. And then we can run. So you can see the edit, and if you click the edit, it gives you the delete option, and you can now delete that option. If you're done without deleting, it doesn't delete. So you can delete from here, or you can do the edit and click the delete. All right. To move an item or to reorder, there is a similar function, can move row at index path. So if you want to be able to move, you take that uncomment this, which will give you the indicator to move, and then when you move the row at index path, it gives you where you are moving from and where you are moving to. So you can decide what it means to move. So we can take this, actually we won't be able to because we need to know first what it does, but I want to show you because we now say you can move, when you do the edit, perhaps we need to take that out as well. It should show us the, yeah, here it is. This is the what will allow you to move things around. So if you let's say add our test, so we can move the 2, but when you move the 2 here, it is moved only in the table view, meaning that if you close and open again, it will go back to the same order because we did not move in the data source. So if we want to move in the data source, then we want to move these in the data source as well, so that the move would persist. Or if you say, I don't really need to move it in the data source, I'm happy with it here, this is just for the user view, you can just leave it this way. To move in the data source, you want to decide how exactly you're going to move it. For simplicity, I'm just gonna replace. So whatever I move an item to, that item comes and take the same place. So we add a function to move two contacts, or to swap, really, swapping the two contacts. So this function needs, I'm gonna call it move contact. It needs to have the index that it will move from and the index that it will move to. So we'll say that, and we can specify a heading or a label so that the user can see exactly which one is which. So we have a from index that is an integer, and then have a label that that says the 2, and then toIndex, and that's an integer. And then the move will basically retrieve the contact and just replace. So we'll start with getting the contacts, retrieve the contacts at each index. So we'll say contact from, and we'll say this is the we'll use the contact at index, and we'll use the from index, and the contact to and contact at index, and we'll use the toIndex. Then I need to replace the contact at that particular index. So I'll use my array contacts, and there's a function here called replace, and you can replace object at index with another object. So I first replace the object at the from index with the contact to, and then replace the other one, the toIndex, with the contact from. So now that will persist, although we will not be able to see this persisting because when we run the application, whatever we added will be removed until the next video where we save to a file, and then you can see that this is actually persisting between the two. So now we can move and we can delete, and that concludes this part.